All right. We are officially live. Welcome to the Cold Deck podcast. And we have a special one for you guys today. I am here with the other half of what I call the brothers of bankroll destruction. I am here with Global Danny Poker. He is the founder of Anti Nit Academy and also known as the Anti Nit Campaign, who I'm a huge fan of. I think what you guys are doing is spectacular. It's bringing a whole new wave of people to the game, which is always good. But more importantly, you guys are putting your own little personality spin on it. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate you bringing me on here. I look forward to everything today.
Awesome, very very good. So, we'll make it easy. We'll go the easy route on to kick the show off. How did you get involved in this horribly addicting, strangely rewarding game called poker? How did you find poker?
Yeah, poker was something that, I feel like everybody when they're younger, they have like people, whether it's their family or friends, show them a few gambling games, like here or there, just like you get shown some. And the first one that I got shown was blackjack, right? And I was like, oh, this is a simple game, easy to learn, right? And I liked it a little bit, but I never got like super into it or anything. And I remember people telling me about poker when I was like probably in middle school, high school. And I heard things about it and they're like, oh yeah, Texas Hold'em, all this, all this. And I tried playing it once when I was younger and it was super complicated. And I was like, you know what? I don't think I'm going to invest my time into that, right? I was like, I don't think I'm going to play that. So I really just threw it under the rug all the way until I was maybe like, I think I was 19. It was 18 or 19. It was my freshman year of college. And my friends at college. So actually, if anybody didn't know, I actually went to college to play baseball. I played baseball out of high school at Wofford College in South Carolina. Yeah. So I went from Seattle all the way over to the East Coast. And I played there for 2 years. But when I went there, right, a bunch of the guys on the team loved playing poker. And so I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like, they invited me over to like one of those little tiny 10 cent, 25 cent home games, right? Everybody starts with these. We started with like $10, $20. I don't remember, but it was kind of a lot to me at the time. And I remember being like, I think I won the first day and I didn't really know what I was doing. And I loved it. I mean, I just loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. And my freshman year, there were some people that like to play, but the game only ran like once, like every couple of weeks, maybe once a month. But
that's not enough.
That's not enough, right? It wasn't enough for me. I was always pushing the guys. I was like, yo, like we got to play poker. We got to play poker. Like after I learned it, I loved it. And then all my other friends were like, no, let's play blackjack. Like, let's play all this other stuff, right? They're trying to get me to do all this other degen stuff. But I mean, I guess poker's still degen, but like I was always pushing for that. And finally sophomore year was when like everybody started playing. And literally we would run games like all the time, like multiple times a week, probably like almost every single day we were playing. And it was just these really small games just with our little group of guys. We ran a tournament once, like it was just fun stuff. And that's really how I fell in love with the game. Yeah.
That is awesome. That's not honestly that far of a different story than what I went through. Like I kind of was in the same mode. I was about 20 years old when I found the game, and I had a pretty high paying job. I was a sales manager for a gym. Like I was making pretty good money, but I'll never forget the first time I won like $120 playing poker. I was addicted instantly. It was like it was the same kind of thing. We were playing a home game. I was just kind of learning. I didn't really know what was kind of going on. Like I understood what hands beat what, but I didn't know, like I thought the different suits were better than other suits. Like I thought spades were better than clubs and stupid shit like that. And then once I started to really get into the game, I just poured myself into learning as much as I could. And obviously this was also during like the time where the poker boom was kind of officially off and running. This was like 2006, 2007. I'm an old man. But like, I just remember like you couldn't turn on ESPN or Fox Sports or any of these other channels without poker being on constantly. So it was being shoved in your face. They had all these huge sponsors. And yeah, it just was like, I was like, oh man, I won't be a pro athlete, but I could be a pro poker player. Like that sounds awesome, right? Like they glamorized it. And then you realize, oh shit, this is the worst thing ever. Like, like this is so emotionally draining and mentally draining. Like, why would anyone do this for a living? Right. But anyways, no, I didn't know that about your baseball background. Like that's pretty sick. I don't like, I guess, I mean, are you still athletic? Do you still go out and You know,
Yeah. So I
hit
can
the
actually
ball, or
get
what do you do now?
I can get into a little bit of that. So yeah, my whole life, like baseball was my dream. I wanted to become a professional baseball player. I wanted to play in the MLB. Um, and I went D1 out of high school, and I was doing, I was having a solid career, and like things didn't go completely right. I went to a junior college for 1 year, and then now I'm at the college that I'm at right now, which is Claremont McKenna, over in Claremont, California. And I played baseball at every single one. And it was only up until, so I actually mid-year transferred to the school I'm at right now, last spring. And up until then, I've been playing baseball this whole time, and my content and poker has all just been like, something I'm doing outside of school and baseball, right? Like school and baseball is priority, and then I just kind of do poker. And then once I started that challenge on Instagram, though, I don't know if you saw it, but it was like buying in for $1 for every 10 followers I have. That's pretty much that thing put me on the map, and it was blown up at such a fast pace during my baseball season, right when I transferred in. Like I was in the middle of preseason and stuff like that. And I was starting to get invited to live streams, getting all these brand deals, right? Like a bunch of just so much going on. And I remember thinking to myself, like, you know, I don't know, like it was a big turning point in my life, right? Because I was like, I don't know if I'm ever going to get this opportunity again, like for something like this. And yes, baseball is my dream, but like, let me be like truly realistic with myself. Like I'm getting older, I'm already 22, and like, is this something that I'm going to be able to do like for my career? And I thought, like, maybe if I try as hard as I can for like the next 10 years, I have a chance. And it's like, dude, but I have this golden opportunity that's just sitting in a silver platter right in front of me, and I feel like I'm going to regret it for the rest of my life if I don't take it. And so that's kind of what I came to consensus to, and I decided to take a step back from baseball, and I quit the team actually from Claremont, and decided to pursue full-time poker outside of being a student, right? So now I have all that extra time. If anybody doesn't know, college athletics, especially baseball, is a very, very time-consuming sport. I mean, you play one game. Like I tell this to people all the time. Like I have a game on Saturday or something, like at 3 p.m. You show up to the field you show up to the locker room at 9, 9 in the morning, and you're getting and you're there, you eat breakfast with the team, you have the pregame meeting, you set up the field, you warm up, right? You do all these different things. Game time at 3, play until 6:30, right? You're tearing down the field, all this stuff, right? Maybe you're getting on the bus and driving back, who knows, right? And then you get back, you eat dinner, take a shower. By the time you're out of there, I mean, it's already nighttime,
Right.
So I mean, it's a single game, right? Like it's a very time consuming thing. And so, I basically decided to go full time into this stuff. And ever since then, there was really no looking back. Like, honestly, I didn't regret it ever. Ever since then, I really thought I was going to have some second thoughts, because like I've been doing this baseball for literally my whole life. It's been my dream. And then I all of a sudden throw it away and just start something new. But honestly, like I've had no regrets. I love the path that I've chosen. I'm going to continue to keep going down this path and see where it takes me, man.
Dude, that's like inspiring as hell. I'm gonna be real with you. Like when I first came across you and your brother's content, it blew me away because you guys you talk about it in such a real sense. Like it's no fluff. It's no, you guys weren't trying to be something you aren't. I won't name any names, but there's plenty of those people out there. But I was like, man, this is so refreshing. And then it was like you guys were crushing. And then I was like, okay, I'm really going to pay attention. And then you guys launched the YouTube, and then it was like the Anti Nit Academy came out. And I was like, oh shit, they're taking this to a completely different level than even my puny caveman brain could comprehend. And so I was very impressed right away. So tell me, like, what led to you starting to document everything via social media? Like, tell me about that story. What led you from finding the game, and then you're like, I'm going to create an entire social media campaign around this?
Yeah, so Kenny was actually the first one to decide to start creating content around poker. And I think Kenny touched on it in his podcast with you earlier. But basically, he found it like very early in terms of the shorts, right? Like not a lot of people were doing shorts.
You guys dominate the shorts.
Yeah,
I mean, you guys are not, there's no one close. I mean, there's a few people, but no one's as like entertaining as you guys are.
Yeah, we've been focusing on that heavily, and but when we started, right, it was like the easiest thing in the world. Like I could kid you not, I would edit this video on CapCut. It's the worst edited video in the world. Like you can't even hear my voice, and it's just like all grainy and shit. Like recorded in 240p, right? And then I post it, and it gets 1 million views. I'm just like, this is ridiculous, right? Like because the market was there's nobody watching, or nobody creating. Sorry, and there's so many people that love the content, So really that's where it started. Kenny started doing it, and then he was like, bro, you should do it too. And so I started doing it, and then we were like, oh man, this thing's working, you know, it's cooking. And Kenny's always been a more business-minded person than I have. Kenny's always talking about like what business moves should we make. You know, he's the one who started Anti Nit Campaign. He's the one who found like the opportunity for us to start Anti Nit Academy and all these different things. He's the guy who really like drives that end of the stick. But for me, I'm more the content stuff. So I really love recording videos, creating new content ideas, and like creating viral content. Like I think that's super fun. I love showcasing my personality online. I'm a very extroverted person, you know, and I love speaking with people and sharing ideas and stuff like that, right? So that's like we're two, you know, we have two different completely sides of like the same thing, but we work on everything together, you know? So everything we do is we work on it together, and we're always talking about what we should possibly, you know, implement next in our next, you know, venture. But yeah, that's pretty much how it started. And so I really ventured into like what should we do content wise to grow ourselves? And he really thought about like, where should we go to start making money? You know, like how do we make money here, and how do we expand our reach and stuff like that, right? And so that's kind of how we split our tasks individually in this process.
No, I mean, you guys have just thrown like a whole different kind of way of doing things, and it's like I've been making content online off and on for like 7-8 years now for poker, and it's like I never really had the focus to really try and grow it. I just was doing it for fun. It was merely when I got into the poker Instagram scene, it was like to meet other players. My whole idea was like I want to connect and network with people who are also it was primarily LA, so like the LA poker community, which is like a whole, you know, what do you call it, genre of itself. But like then I would go to Vegas and I'd meet people in Vegas, and I'd go to other places. And I started to realize like there are good people in this world, there are bad people in this world, but like the friendships that I've made through the poker world, like I wouldn't trade them for anything in the world. Like the good people are really good, and they're practically like family now. And so that was kind of my whole thing with creating content, was really just to connect and network with people more. And then now I'm realizing like there was a whole other world that I took my eyes off of, which was like the monetization of it, and like being able to really capitalize on your name and your likeness and things like that. And that's kind of where like the podcast came around. It was like, hey, I have a voice. I've done commentary for years. Like people like what I have to say, so why don't I get on here and bullshit for a while with people and have some fun with it, you know? But like I totally love the short form content. Like I'm personally addicted to your guys' reels. I think they are so good. They're so well done. You guys just you don't miss. I'll be real. Like you guys just always nail it. And every time I feel like I have you guys figured out, you'll come out with a new banger. And I'm like, oh damn, like why aren't I doing this? Oh yeah, that's right. I have zero patience. Like I hate editing, I hate shooting, like the whole, it's work. People don't realize it's work. But when you guys got started, what was like, who influenced you guys? Who were like your mentors in this?
Yeah, it's interesting. So we both watched like the poker vloggers back in the day, you know, Rampage, Mariano, Brado, and like the, you know, the trifecta, and like a lot of other guys. Like we would love consuming poker content. And there were a few guys that were making shorts here and there, you know, on like Instagram and YouTube and all that stuff that we saw. Wolfgang, you know, like some guys like that were starting it out. And so we definitely drew some inspiration from them. And we started off as we talked about with a lot of the hand history stuff. And it was just like the, you know, the standard poker vlog format, but it's just like 1 minute video of a hand history that I played. And that's what was working back then. You know, I mean, every single one you dropped would get tons and tons of plays, likes and comments and stuff. And it would just hit the algorithm. But we really started thinking about it for a second after a while. And we were like, you know what, like as much as we post these, we're not gaining a ton of followers. We're not really making a big name for ourselves. Nobody really knows who we are, you know? And so we're like, what are we really doing with these? What's our real end goal when we're making these videos? And so, you know, and it was kind of fun. So like, I'll give it that, like, it was fun to make that content, but at the same time, there wasn't really any like goal in sight, you know? And so we started shifting our focus towards creating a brand, you know, and being like, okay, like we want people to know who we are. And we want people to, you know, put a face to all this stuff, right? And so like when I make my videos, I love having like clips of myself in the actual video, you know, whether it's me doing a talking head, talking about some poker tip, or whether it's me telling a story. I like doing a lot of these storytelling type videos and reels now, you know, but all this content is more so trying to make people understand who we are as people and who we are as influencers, you know? And so it's kind of just giving a little bit more of a personal connection and creating more of a community rather than just people that just consume the content and then just like, you know, go on with their lives, right? I want them to be like, oh, that's Global Danny. Like, I know who he is. I know the type of shit he does. I know, you know, I know like his whole story, you know?
That's pretty awesome. And I would definitely say when you and your brother go out somewhere, you're definitely getting recognized. You're definitely getting
Yeah.
stopped. There's just too many people in the poker world that see your guys' content. So even if they're not like super familiar with your guys, they're like, oh yeah, those are those guys that have those like really sick viral shorts that are, you know, like so everyone watches, you know? So even if they don't know you directly, they're getting to see you more and more. And I mean, you guys are just killing the social media game. I'll be real with you. I mean, it's made me want to step my game up for sure. I'm like, damn, should I hire like an editor? Because I certainly as hell don't like doing this myself. I mean, it's work. So, how would you describe your playing style? Like, how would you say, and how has it evolved? Like, from obviously from when you first started, you're just learning the game to what it is now, and kind of what do you think you would want to improve on?
That's a really good question. I really like this question. When Kenny and I just started, you know, as you can see, we're Anti Nit Academy, Anti Nit Campaign. This is our thing, right? We hated nits at the table. We loved being aggressive, opening super wide, three betting super wide, just bluffing like crazy, bluffing way too much. You know, like to the point where it was just like honestly kind of ridiculous. Like we would pretty much just triple barrel every single hand, and we would just never. we pretty much just had 0 times where we would ever shut down. You know, it didn't even matter if we had like the worst combo possible to keep triple barreling, and it was the biggest calling station ever. You know, like we were just like, dude, let's just send it. People just overfold to aggression. You know, and the crazy part is it worked. You know, it actually worked. But we definitely were doing it a little too much, you know, at the start. And we definitely studied and we learned the game and the intricacies as we got better. And the cool thing about having Kenny as like my guy in this thing that we're doing is that whenever Kenny learns something, I learn the exact same thing. And whenever I learn something, he learns the exact same thing. Like we'll take like maybe I'll take coaching lessons from, you know, some guy, you know, who's like a super online crusher or something. And then you know, I learned something crazy, mind blowing. I'm like, dude, you can't even I can't believe you can think about something like this turn barrel spot like this, right? And then I'll go over to Kenny and I'll just literally tell him exactly what I just learned, you know? And so we consume very similar content because we always, you know, bounce ideas off each other. And so our style is very similar in a sense where we've just learned together. And and I want to say, like, yes, we did start super aggressive and we are still very aggressive. But obviously we're not like just completely miscalculated aggression anymore. That's kind of how it used to be like, was like just like a little bit of a maniac style, but you would get paid when you have it kind of thing, right? But now it's more of like a calculated aggression, you know, and we're definitely a lot more in tune with theoretical concepts, especially the higher stakes you play, right? You're going to need to understand a little bit more baseline and definitely taking more of the exploits to heart and using these like specific exploits. Like if the guy's a calling station, we're not going to bluff him anymore, right? Like I know that's a very dumbed down way of saying it, right? But like, you get what I mean? We're not just doing one size fit all, right? And we're learning the game from the ground up and trying to extrapolate the exploits based off the theory that we learned, basically.
Yeah, you're adjusting like a normal good player would, you know, like you have to make adjustments at the table, you know, and I mean, I have a very controversial take that a lot of people see as, you know, I don't really care if I'm right or wrong. It's just kind of how I feel about it. But I feel like if you only play one certain style or you play GTO, so to speak, you're not maximizing your return. You're not maximizing your wins, and you're definitely not you know, stopping your losses. I've seen people play perfect GTO and lose shit tons of money, and I'm like, why do you keep hammering this broken nail? Like you're literally doing everything possible to lose. Like it's like, and you're not adjusting. This player is never going to fold. Stop betting into them. They're not going to fold, right? So it's interesting that you guys have like, yeah, I think everybody goes through the same kind of journey. It's like you learn the game, then you learn a style, and you're like, "Ooh, I like this style. Like I'm winning." Right? That first big win you have, like the first time I ever won $1,000 in a cash game, my whole life changed. I was like, "Oh my god, you can win real money playing this game, not 10-cent, 25-cent games." I was playing, I think, like a 2-5 or 3-5 game somewhere, and I won like 2 massive pots with aces. And I was like, oh my God, I took my $300 buy-in and now I have $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 in front of me. And I was like 25 at the time, 24. This is life-changing money for me. So, but then what I found out, I kept playing the same way. I lose it all back the next session, right? So I go back in all you know, bravado and cocky, and then I get exposed. So
Yep.
I think that is super important for players to kind of realize, hey, it's okay to play a certain style, but it's also okay to deviate from that and adjust and learn what your opponents are doing, right? So
100%.
with that being said, though, what tips or advice would you give aspiring players that want to grow their online presence? If they want to be able to become massive social media poker influencers like you and your brother, how would they go about that? What would you do differently now?
Yeah, so I think the first thing is the point that I talked about initially. The first thing that I would do is make sure that I know that my content is growing my brand rather than getting views, right? There's a difference. And so when you get views, yes, you get attention. And there are places and people that will pay you for that attention, right? And so if that is your goal, that's okay, right? You can have that goal. If you just want to make money and that's the only thing you want to do, you can focus on just only making videos that get views, right? And maybe people might not know who you are. Like you can even see like I don't know, you might have seen ads about it, but like there's these ads all over the place, and it's like I have this AI chatbot literally take a Reddit story, put a video behind it, and I just rinse and repeat, and it makes like 150 videos, and they like some of them get 1 million views, right? And it's like cool, you can do that, right? Are you a content creator? You know, like, are you an influencer? Right? And so like, it depends on what you want to do with it. And so what like, if you want to be like a presence online and you want people to know who you are, then you have to give people a reason to know who you are, right? And you have to give people like a reason to come back to your videos, whether that's for like, I always talk to people about this, but there's a couple things that really like are the only things that matter really in content. One, you're really, really fucking good at what you do, right? So like you're just super good. So people just want to see someone super good work, right? Two, you're really, really simple. So you like people that are like various different skill levels can all understand what you're talking about, right? And three, personality, right? Those are like the three things. And I mean, I guess you could add consistency, but if you're talking about just the specific like content itself, if you're simple, if you're super good, if you have personality, you don't even need to have all three of them. If you just do one of them super fucking well, you're going to get views, right? And you're going to get people that enjoy you as a person and that want to watch you and consume your content, right? So those are probably my three biggest advices. As far as shorts go and other like just content, random general advice is always make your video fast. People have short attention spans, right? Like just cut out all the cut out all the like, you know, like the little spaces in between your videos. It takes only a little bit of time to just cut out all those things, and people will just retain, you know, viewer duration way longer than you'd expect.
Yeah.
Give someone something to talk about in your video. Like I always say this, like, it's funny that you brought up the suits thing. You were like, I thought like clubs had more like, you know, are like stronger than like spades or something.
Yeah.
I actually used to do this thing in my shorts. It was actually really funny. At the start of the video, I would be like, I have ace king of hearts. Hearts give you 10% extra equity than any other suit in the game. And then I would just roll off on the video, right? Like I would just act like nothing happened, right? And then everybody would be just going crazy in the comments, like, this guy's stupid as fuck, like 10% extra equity, right? And I'm like, dude, you guys are doing exactly what I want you to do. Like, I just want you to
you're
comment.
engaging with the content.
Yeah, I just want you guys
actually
to comment,
brilliant,
you know? And so like, if you really think about your content from a like a baseline like that, like, what am I trying to accomplish with it? Like, do I want people to do this? Do I want people to do that? I want them to comment. Okay, if you want someone to comment on your video, how are you going to make them comment? You know, and so that you got to ask yourself that. And so, and I always think about that stuff whenever I'm creating a video. You know, and sometimes I just make videos now just cause and like just put it out because it's just stuff that I want to do. But there are times where I'll be like, I need to make a viral video. I need to make a good video right now, and I'm going to think about it, and I'll spend like an hour thinking about the idea, the concept, and then I'll just come out with it. And before I even release it, I'll be like, this is getting 1 million views. Like, I'll know it, you know.
You can predict it.
Yeah, like it happens a lot.
That's pretty sick. That's pretty sick. See, I wish I had that superpower. That's a superpower right there. But I mean, that also kind of goes to the show, like, you've put a lot of time and effort into this. I think, you know, so many people want to get rich quick, get famous quick. They think it's overnight. And honestly, to a lot of people, especially now, I would say now, a lot of people see you and your brother and like, they came out of nowhere. You guys have been producing content for quite a while. This wasn't something that just you started like 6 months ago or a year ago. Like you really had put some time into this
Mm-hmm.
and have a lot of content over I mean, how long has it been? How long have you guys been producing?
It's the consistency. That's the thing, right? I think Kenny started a little before me. I started March, so not last March, but the March before that, right? So probably like a year and like 6 months, or maybe like probably closing in around like, you know, a year and a half, a year and 3/4, something like that. Kenny's probably been doing for almost close to 2 years now. It's, you know, but it's really just about the consistency, right? Like when you really go down to it, like if you post a video a day and it's good content, you're gonna go viral. Like you're gonna gain followers. And it's just about just doing it every fucking day, you know?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm looking at your hat, and it just reminds me of like hedging your bets. Like you're like sitting there and you're rooting for both teams because you're like, I have money on one, but I had to hedge it because there could be a chance they come back. Right.
This hat has so much history, you would not believe it. I don't know if you know about this, but this hat is actually, so I've been wearing this hat for like a year.
I've seen it in old videos.
Yeah, so I've been wearing this hat for a long time, and everybody since the start has all been clowning me. They're like, bro, what is that fucking hat? Like New York, LA, you're like, you don't make any sense, right? I'd be getting DMs about it, all this shit, right? Like so everybody's just clowning me. And then fast forward, right? New York, LA, like if you look on the side, it's literally, it says 75th World Series, right? So this is a World Series hat from 75th. Yeah, and so if you fast forward to now, right? And then obviously the Dodgers and New York played in the World Series, and all of a sudden I'm getting DMs. People are like, bro, where'd you get that hat, bro? Where'd you get that hat?
Yeah, now all of a sudden you're the hero. Yeah,
exactly. I'm like, this age is like fine and wine, bro.
You probably can't find it anywhere because it's like such a one of a kind hat. Oh, that's so funny. That is too funny.
It's a random side note, but like it's actually this hat has so much history.
Yeah, I happened to notice it like in one of your videos, and I was like, that is a super sick hat. like I constantly wear hats. I have way too many hats in my closet, like probably at least 40 or 50 plus. And a lot of them are just like, you know, I don't even know why I bought them. I'm like, what was I thinking when I got this?
It's like, this is not it.
Yeah, this is not it. Like I need to get rid of these, but I keep collecting. I don't know why. No, that's pretty awesome. This is something I don't talk about enough, and I think it should be talked about more. But the mental health part of poker is probably the most overlooked part of the game. And so many people go in with the strategy in mind, you know, what's GTO, but they're not talking about their current mindset. Like, where is their state of self while they're playing? And, you know, in the beginning, and it kind of goes back to like how a lot of people discover poker, you don't think about that stuff. You're like, I'm just trying to remember what's a good starting hand versus a bad starting hand, and what position I'm in. And then it evolves into, hey, this guy tilted me because he sucked out, and you're trying to learn how to control your emotions. How would you say that's evolved for you? Like, what do you do before you play? What is there any kind of like, do you have a routine? Do you meditate? Like what's your deal?
Yeah, for the mental health aspect of the game, I think I'm glad you're covering this because it is so important, right? Like people really overlook this, and I know everybody says that, but like it's true, and you really need to hear it. And if it's like 100%, like if you are planning on going full time, like this is like probably one of the most important things you need to lock down. Like every successful professional poker player I have met has like a super solid mental health routine, you know, like they go on runs, you know, they clear their head. They know exactly what their routine is every day before and after they go to the poker session, you know, how to de-stress, right? How to, you know, detach emotions from their play, all these different things. Like it's so important. And really, like, if you don't pay attention to these things, like you can fall so easily in this world, you know, and I've seen it as well. Like I've seen people, you know, really, you know, get into some pretty, you know, scary situations that I really would not wish upon anybody. And that only happens because of things like that, right? Personally, I'm fortunate enough to still not be fully financially responsible for myself. I'm still in college, you know, living in a dorm, right?
Living the dream.
Yeah. So I'm really lucky right now because I have this like buffer period. I got another year of school, right? So for this last year, I can,
So
you know,
you
kind
are
of.
finishing school.
Yeah, I am finishing school. It's been too long. That's that's another topic. But basically,
But let's say you take down a couple of big tourneys for some six-figure scores,
yeah,
and
it's
you get a
close.
sponsorship. You get a sponsorship that goes, we're going to give you $150,000 to $200,000 a year to wear this patch and tour around the country. You're telling me you're staying in school?
Yeah, I don't
Danny,
know. You
come on,
know,
be honest with me, dude.
okay, that probably would convince me if something like that happened, right?
It would take a lot, though.
It would take a lot though, and really the reason behind it is because I've talked about it with my parents, my family. They're very supportive of me, my brother, and
Hmm.
you know, my dad always says like he's going to support me in anything that I choose, and I really respect him for that. But he's like at the same time, I can't have you making like super rash decisions when you're young, and you're early. You have all this time ahead of you, and I know that he's supportive of our poker journey, but he's also like, dude, like the economy can change, like you can go on a downswing. Like things can happen, right, in this poker journey. Like you need to prove to me that you can be, like that you can have a successful career with or without poker, while playing full time or doing only full time business for poker.
Hmm.
You got to prove all these different things before I can, let you off the hook and be able to say that I'm quitting school, And so that's really the idea behind it. And I understand his point of view. Like I'm at a really high academic school right now. I'm almost done with school. Like I got 1 year left to get my degree. Like let's just fucking wrap it up. Let's just wrap it up and get it. And like it's just a good thing to have. I think also education is important for everybody. And so I think I'm just gonna go and finish this year unless something absolutely revelating happens in the next 6 months next year.
I'll say this. I'd be very surprised if you don't get some offers in the next 6 months to a year. I'm going to be real with you. You and your brother. I think you guys are doing something that I've seen this playbook before. I've seen this kind of rise before. And, a lot of people don't know the story of Doug Polk, but Doug Polk had a very similar story. He was very young when he found the game. He struggled for many years. And then, like, he's a millionaire from poker. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he's and obviously he's ventured into a lot of different things, right? Owning card rooms, Texas, all that stuff, which is brilliant because he's always been kind of thinking ahead like that. But it started with content creation. It started with like learning the game, becoming super good at the game, and then like, hey, I'm going to start streaming. And I remember when he started streaming on Twitch, I was such a nerd about the game. I was like, wait a minute. Doug Polk, the super high stakes guy, is all of a sudden going to start streaming on Twitch, like giving away his secrets. It was
Mm-hmm.
shocking. It was like he's not charging for this, and then like
Mm-hmm.
not even a year later, upswing poker, and I was like, this
Yep.
is smart. He's taking it to a different, and nobody had ever done that before. Like no one had ever taken like, hey, I'm a name in the game, and I'm going to turn around and start a really sick site. You saw these other guys, and you might be too young for this. There was a site called Card Runners,
Mm-hmm.
and Card Runners was ran by a bunch of really big time full tilt poker online pros. These guys were the crusher of the crushers. But when I look back at some of their old videos, and you could probably YouTube some of their old training, do yourself a favor, look for Card Runners poker training videos online. I mean, they should be on YouTube. There should, maybe not. But I mean, they were a paid site just like anybody else, like
Oh,
BBZ
I
Poker.
see
Like,
it. Mm-hmm.
okay, they had a crazy logo. It was like a big
Brian
C.
Townsend,
Yep. He's
Poker
he's
Run.
he's a legend. Like there's a couple of legends, but Townsend was like the first guy to go from online to then being on like these high stakes like he was on high stakes poker when it was the old show or late
Mm-hmm.
2000s, and everybody was like, who's this guy? And of course, like nerds like me, I was like, oh my god, like Townsend's on high stakes poker. Like this guy was online only for so many years. And then they started making a name for themselves in the World Series of Poker. So it's like the whole thing that I'm getting at is just like, I can see this kind of eventual turn of like you becoming the next big wave of poker pros. And I think that, should you decide you want to do it, of course. And I think that's what's so cool that you're telling me you want to finish school, you have options, and you're doing this on top of all the shit you're doing. I don't know how you're doing it. Like full time, like when I worked full time and was playing like 30, 40 hours a week, I didn't have a life. And so I don't know how and then like I wasn't recording content at all. So I couldn't even imagine doing all of those things wrapped into what you're doing now. It's insane. It's remarkable.
Yeah.
When you're not playing though, what do you like to do? What do you do besides poker?
I don't know. A lot of regular college activities. You know, I have a girlfriend. She takes up a lot of time as well.
Oh man, you have a girlfriend while you're doing all
Yes,
this?
I do. I do.
What?
She lives in Santa Barbara, so I go over on the weekends a lot to visit her. She comes here sometimes. And spend a lot of time with her. I travel a lot, you know, for a lot of different series and stuff like that. I guess you said aside from poker, but I consider some of the traveling stuff like non-poker related too. Like even if I go to something, you know, an event for some sort of poker event, like I consider that, you know, partially not poker because it's me doing like a passion in my life, which is traveling and meeting new people and seeing new places and stuff like that. But yeah, and I'm a big tech guy. Like I love playing on my computer. I like creating videos. I like playing video games. You know, just like a bunch of standard stuff. But yeah, I mean, I don't have like a ton of hobbies, I guess, because you know, like the ones that I do take up a lot of time. But yeah, you know, just
well, it kind of sounds like you rolled your hobbies into what you already like to do and do.
Yeah,
that can make money for you anyways, right? So it's like poker, content creation. Like some people would consider those hobbies. Other people would consider it a career. You're kind of mixing both. So I think that's pretty cool. I think that's awesome. And obviously baseball. You like watching baseball or you only like playing baseball?
A little bit of both. I only really stay up to date with my team, which is the Mariners, because I'm from Seattle.
Okay. Yep.
And you know, they've been pretty trash for the last couple of years, or I mean, maybe
they went on a pretty good run last year, and then they fell apart this year.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going on with them. We need some bats, please, Mariners. If you guys are hearing me, please let's sign some bats. But yeah, so I don't really watch a ton of sports, honestly, in general. I just watch the Mariners whenever they're on, but that's about it. And yeah, I mainly just played. That was my thing. You know, I wasn't like a huge sports guy. Like I don't watch football. I don't watch basketball. I don't really bet on sports. Like I don't do any of that stuff.
Okay.
You know? Yeah, I'm just.
So you're not like full blown degenerate. Like
I like my baccarat, you know. When I go to Vegas,
okay.
I love some baccarat. You know, I'm like that grumpy old
that's
Asian
pretty big
6-year-old.
That is the most degenerate game there is besides craps. Okay,
I mean, you literally just click buttons at baccarat.
You're clicking buttons.
Yeah, and just click.
There's no thought process.
But honestly, I've ran good at Bach. I've ran super good at Bach. I have a very small sample size, like my volume's low, but I've ran good. I'm up money.
Maybe you can teach me because I don't get what it is. Anytime I've ever played, I just get my ass handed to me. And then everyone else I know has gone on these stupid runs. I had a friend of mine that took like, I want to say they went in with like $1,500. They ran it up to $100 grand in like 7 hours.
What?
And this was at Commerce Casino in LA. Crazy. This was like, I want to say this was like 7 or 8 years ago. They got like a week comped room, you know, like they didn't want them to leave. God. You know, they're like, hey, we're going to give you the world. And you know, they were smart. They're like, I'll take a couple of nights, but I'm not going to stay all that long. They ended up losing like 20K back, but I mean, they still kept 80K. I'm like,
yeah, that's crazy.
That's a stupid run off of baccarat. Like that doesn't even make any sense. You know what I mean? But there's people who just crush that game. Dude, I'm just not one of them.
It's crazy, man. Like that game, honestly though, that game's really good at getting comps too, though. I get a lot of comps from Venetian, like playing Bach and shit. I always stay at, whenever I go to Vegas, I always stay at Venetian, and they have okay. I love their box space. So
you might be the first person I've ever talked to that said they prefer Venetian over any other property.
It's not even that. Like I don't really know.
Well, I meant just to stay. You know? Like to stay. That's really surprising. I've never heard anyone say that.
I like it. I mean, they give us the suite, you know, it's nice. Like it's a nice spot. And they got good food there. Grand Lux Cafe. It's great, you know.
It's pretty killer.
So yeah. And then I mean, like I like the cash game room too. And they just opened up their new thing. So
have you been there since they opened?
I haven't been there, but I really want to.
I have not been out there either. I'm trying to go around the holidays. I typically, I mean, I don't know how many times you've been to Vegas. I've probably been more times than I've been alive. But the amount of money that rolls in during Christmas, like it's like a second World Series of Poker type situation. Wow. You just get people who come in and dump money, and because they got nothing else going on, they chose Vegas for the holidays, right? Like and everything's super dirt cheap. I mean, you can get rooms for next to nothing because it's 10 degrees outside. I mean, Vegas gets really chilly during the winter, especially in December. It's like they'll hand you rooms for free. You're like, I don't have any comps. We'll give you comps. Like, just please come to our casino, right?
Yeah.
Please come and spend money here. So, what's your favorite poker room in the out of anywhere you visited? What's your number one place?
Wow. That's a tough question. What's crazy is when I was in Vegas for WPT last year, it was my first like big series I ever went to. I actually recorded a casino reviews YouTube video that I never ended up posting. And I went to every single casino, in like every big name casino in Vegas. And I played poker at every single one. And I gave them rankings on like profitability, like staff, food, comfort, like all these different things, but I never posted it. I don't know why. I thought it was a really good idea, but I never did it. I think I just got lazy.
That's an amazing idea.
Yeah. So I actually kind of want to, think about maybe retrying it. But anyways, for profitability, number one is Golden Nugget. 1-2 uncapped.
Oh, don't. We're gonna have to edit that one out, guys. I do not want you leaking the gold. Do not put the nugget in there.
I know.
I'm so pissed you said that.
You can cut it out. You can cut it out.
For anyone who's listening and doesn't know how good the games are at the Nugget, especially in the summer. It's uncapped 1-2. There's people who sit down with $5 or $6 grand in a 1-2 game. It is and they're loaded.
It's crazy.
And the drinks start flowing, and that game gets so good. I think I spent 20 hours. I went there with some friends. That was like my second time ever playing at the Nugget. And I couldn't leave. My friends are like, come on, let's go drink, let's go party. And I'm like, I'm not leaving this game. I'm up $2,500. I've been here an hour. I'm not leaving. I'm never leaving this game. And then when they spread the 1-2 PLO, game over. It's game over. So okay. Now that the secret's out. So for game wise, you like the Nugget. What about overall poker room atmosphere?
Poker room atmosphere, I like. Let's see. I really liked Win and Resorts World. I like both of those. I thought the Win was just super clean. Everyone talks about the Win. It's the bougie spot, right? You can't beat it in terms of comfort and service and stuff like that, right? So it's just going to be that spot that's always going to feel. Yeah, it's going to be always comfortable, right? Like whenever you go, it's just going to be a nice time. Only problem that I ran into when I was over there was some pretty long wait lists. So I mean, WPT going on, so that's valid, right? I thought Aria was solid too, but Aria's wait lists were insane when I went there.
They're insane.
They're actually insane. I went there and I was recording this video, so I was committed, right? But I put my wait list down. The shortest wait list was for 2-5, and it was 88 people long. 88. And the other ones were over 100. They were all over 100. And I was like, what am I even doing here? I went, got food, played poker at a different room, came back, and I was still like 30th. It was ridiculous. I waited for like 4 or 5 hours. But I love Resorts World. Resorts World is like very, very quickly growing on me. I have a really good buddy down in Vegas. And he like always like runs private games with me whenever we go down there. We just host like a little like fun like meetup game with like a bunch of homies and stuff. And we always host at Resorts World. The staff is awesome. I love every single like staff member there. They're all so chill. Like they're honestly best staff that I've met out of anybody in Vegas. And so I really, really love like their atmosphere for sure.
Shout out to Resorts World here. I mean, that's funny you say that because I was there. I got married this year. I was there for my honeymoon.
Oh, congratulations, man.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
And we stayed like next to Resorts World. And when I went in there and I applied for like their players card, they were like giving me comps right when I walk in the door. And I mean, it's shocking. And it's like, but they just do it right. Like it's weird because Resorts World has had this really odd kind of up and down history over the years, like since they've opened. But I feel like now people are starting to really understand that they are like player focused, they're customer focused, unlike some of these other properties. Like they have free parking. That's doesn't even exist in Vegas anymore. And so I think they're going to win this whole battle. Like when World Series comes back next year, I would be surprised if they didn't start becoming like the #1 cash game area during the summer in the next couple of years. Especially like in point with WPT, like, okay, I'm tired of waiting at Encore. I'm tired of waiting at Aria. I'm tired of, I'm going to go check out Resorts World, and the games are just as good. They're just as good. That's interesting. You said you host like a private game. Have you thought about like hosting and getting paid for the host?
Yeah,
Like,
I was so my brother actually started a private game in Sacramento, which was like where he originally started, where he was originally from, right? He started over in Sacramento when he was at UC Davis, and he started a little game at this tiny little casino called Limelight, and it was this really, really fun game, right? Like, just awesome, just a bunch of boys, right? Like homies, had like drinks flowing, like 1-3 ultra deep stack, right? Just a great fucking game. Like everyone had a good time. Like people were lining up to get on that list, right? But once he's moved to San Diego, he hasn't really started anything up. And I keep telling him, bro, like start a game. You know, like you got like a huge following. People will come and play with you. And like, you know, you can build a really good lineup. And the only problem for me though is I don't put a lot of volume live here when I'm in LA because I'm so far from the nearest casino. It takes me an hour to get to whenever I want to play. And so like if it's a weekday for me, I get out of class and then I have like schoolwork or some shit. And then if I have to drive an hour there, drive an hour back, and then like play for a couple hours, that's like a big chunk of time, right? And so I a lot of the times I'm just putting in a lot of volume online now because I just don't have the time to make it out to play live. And so like starting like a weekly game or something live would be really tough for me with my schedule, but I really want to do it once I have the time to do it. And I know that I can get a consistent game running like every week, you know, but like, I don't know if I can even make it to the game like once a week, you know? So it's a little,
that might prove to be a little bit of a problem, but that's very interesting because I know a lot of people who make a pretty good living just hosting games at different card rooms, and those meetup games are pretty profitable. I mean, ask Brad Owen and Andrew Nemi. They've made a fortune off of those meetup games. You know, and that's again things that I didn't think about, because like when I used to get all the Instagram people together, we would just host a bullshit fun meetup game. It was just like, oh hey, come and gamble with us, not come and sit for the next 9 hours because I'm getting paid for it kind of deal, you know. So it's definitely added a different wrinkle. But no, I mean, I think what's cool too is like you see other guys in the community that have really taken advantage of those kind of opportunities, right? Like Hustler Casino is the first place that I can think of that really embraced the influencer marketing kind of situation, right? You got Suited Superman, shout out Kai, one of my homies.
I love Kai.
Kai's great, you know, and he's super smart. Like that guy could go and do anything he wants in the world, and he decided to become a degenerate gambler, which is just mind blowing, right? It's the allure of the game, but he's obviously a super solid player, and you know, he's made a real name for himself that led to, I don't even know if he even works his full-time career anymore. I think he's full-time poker now. So I haven't talked to him in a little while, but he's someone I'm trying to get on the show too. So if you talk to him, tell him, hey, you got to get your ass. I'll definitely. I'm just kind of getting back into recording again. I had a little bit of a layoff because with my career, I work in a kind of a corporate environment. I travel a lot for work. I go to conferences all around the country. And so my road trip schedule was insane the last like 6 weeks. So now I'm done for the rest of the year. I get to like chill, and here we are back to recording, playing, and grinding again.
Hell yeah.
The good shit. The good shit. Right?
The good shit.
Yeah. Okay. I have 2 questions for you. These are the fun questions.
All right.
These are ones that I try and ask every single person. If you were stuck on a deserted island, what are 3 items that you absolutely have to have with you?
I feel like the answer to this question is like you can use like some really bullshit answers and then just have like the best setup ever, you know? So like I kind of want to like not use like the bullshit answers that are just like way too good. Like, oh, let me bring a fucking house, you know? It's like, okay, like what the fuck, right? Like, come on, you know? So
obvious.
Yeah, but you get what I mean, right? It's like, it's like, that's ridiculous. So I'm going to try to think of like more like handheld, like singular objects or something like that. Okay. 3 items on a deserted island. I mean, if it's deserted, you need to build shelter. That's like number 1, right? You need to build shelter, get food, get water. So I'd probably bring like maybe a tent. I bring a tent, like a nice tent, one that's not going to get ripped up, you know?
Sure.
Just a nice little tent, foldable thing that I could just bring around with me and walk around the island with. I'd probably bring like a big ass like hatchet or some sort of like cutting thing. Just cut up some wood, you know. shout out Hatchet, goated book. And
That's a
then
good book.
Coded book. Everybody had to read that shit when they were like
Everybody had to
sixth
read it in
grade.
school.
It's like probably the most read book in America.
That is everybody knows what that book is.
Oh my god, yeah. Like Tom Sawyer, like all that shit.
Yep.
And then maybe someone to start a fire, because I'm not the best at
a fire starter.
Yeah, probably like a lighter or something. Actually, no, lighters like that'll eventually.
A lighter would run out of fluid.
Yeah, that would run out of fluid.
You want like a flint rock. Like
yeah,
you want something that you can actual start a fire with. So
yeah, I'm gonna go. Pretty generic stuff, but I think that's what I would go with. Survival comes first.
What I love too, for anyone who's listening and not watching this, like you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast, is the entire time we've been doing this interview, Danny has been shuffling chips in the background because he's such a degenerate. Of course I can hear that. Of course I can hear that. I've been hearing it this whole time, and I'm like, I also have a stack of chips somewhere. I don't have them on my desk right now, but when I'm playing, I'll usually have it to like, it's like a fidget toy for me, like, right? Like with the kids with fidget toys. So I just thought that was funny, because I'm like, people are going to hear that. Is he shuffling chips? Is he? So when you're at the table, you're constantly shuffling chips. That's what I do.
Like literally, I cannot not do it. It's impossible.
I don't even think about it. And then I realize, like, if I'm in a place that I don't normally play at, like especially in Vegas, because I don't play a ton in Vegas. If I'm shuffling chips, I look around the table, I go, oh, these people are going to realize I'm shuffling chips, and they're going to play differently at me because I don't look like a tourist. I look like a player, and I don't want to completely look like a player, but I also don't want to completely look like a tourist. So there's like this weird health, like I'll try and fumble the stack. Like I'll try and look like I don't know how to shuffle the chips. So I look all nervous, and I don't know. It's a stupid meta thing that I do with people, and I don't even know if it actually works. It's probably bullshit, but that's what I do. And then sure enough, when I'm 4 hours into a session, I'm freaking just like non-stop shuffling, right? So okay, here's a new question that I haven't asked anyone yet. If you could have dinner with one poker player anywhere in history, who would it be and why?
Oh, that's a good one. One poker player. One poker player dinner. I think I'd either have to go with Ivy or Tom Dwan, one or the other. And the reason why I think is because both of them have obviously so much success, right? They've had so much success, and they have very different stories. But they also have embraced the idea of becoming a poker player. So it's like, for Phil Ivey, right? Like he is like the king of all degenerate gamblers, right? Like he's literally like there's nobody that's ever been better at gambling than him. Like this guy thought of it as a business, he thought of making money as a business. And I mean, he's all business. Like you look at the guy play, right? This guy's fucking locked in, and I would talk to him about like how he went about that, right? Like what was his like thought process in like not just the poker aspect of it, right? Like yes, it'd be great to talk to him about poker and understand like some of the things that he's thinking about in a hand and how he wins these leveling wars and stuff like that. But more so with like Tom Dwan and Phil Ivey, it's like, tell me how you got rich, like tell me what you did, right? Like all those different things, like that's what I want to know. Like like everything that came with being a poker player. What did you see? Like all the different stories you have. Like I'm sure you have the craziest stories like anybody's ever had before. I actually had I was actually on a live stream with Phil Galfond not that long ago at Poker Night in America, like about like 6 months ago or something. And I got to get dinner with him after, and obviously getting dinner with a legend like that is awesome. It was like me, my brother, and like a couple of the other guys that played, and we just basically talked to Phil like the whole time. And obviously, it's us asking him questions, right? Because we're all like the like the little kids, like just like
the young guns,
the young guns, like how do you do everything? And he had some hilarious and crazy stories. And
he has the best stories.
Yeah. So,
I call him Dr. Phil because he's smart enough to be a doctor. Like when you hear him talk, the guy is so well educated about even if you don't talk poker, if you've ever heard him talk about any other subject, he's so well educated on the topic. And you're like, wait a minute, this guy does nothing but poker. And somehow he understands like the climate situation. And he understands like, how the fuck do you have the time? How do you have the time?
He's a
So
legend.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it's funny you're mentioning Phil Ivey because and a lot of people don't know this because I wasn't allowed to talk about it publicly for a long time, but I was a consultant on Masterclass when he
Oh,
did
wow.
the Masterclass. So I was what they call a student proxy. I was the person who helped ask all the questions that were on what they filmed for content for
Oh,
Masterclass. And so I got to literally live my dream. I got to ask him everything about his poker journey, his mindset, his strategy,
wow.
how he approaches things, what he thinks about the game now. And it was over 3 days. They were 12-hour days. It was very long. It was very, it like people think, oh, that sounds, I did get paid for it. So it's like, oh, that's pretty awesome. Like
Yeah.
I literally got paid to
To
ask
do
my
that.
all-time
Yeah.
favorite player questions about poker. Like it's, you know, I was like, I would have done it for free, but that whole situation, everything you described, I got to do on a very intimate level with him. And
Wow.
unbelievable respect for him because there were definitely times where you could tell, like, you know, he was like, I don't know if I should be talking about this
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
was getting into like the inner workings of how he approaches things.
Mhm.
And I mean, this was about 5 years ago, 6 years ago when this happened. And he was still very active. He was just making a big comeback in the high stakes community. Like Triton was becoming a thing at that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And he was starting to go to Macau more. And like, he was like, I don't know if I really want to record that. Like, we had to stop a few times because he's like, I'm not going to answer those questions. I was getting pretty detailed. I was like, well, tell us about why you would 3-bet someone out of it. And he'd be like, I am not going to tell you about that. I'm not talking about my 3-bet strategy. I'm not talking about my 4-bet. Like, but he went over some of the really famous hands. He went over his mindset during those hands. And, you know, I mean, obviously it was like, some of them were really old, like the leveling war with Paul Jackson, like super famous hand. And it's like, they both have nothing, but he just knew his nothing was better than the other guy's nothing. So it's like, I got to hear his entire, he talked about that for like 15 minutes. And I was like, this is amazing. But anyways, like I got to hang out with him a little bit. I got to hang out with Nick Schulman, who's again, another legend of the game. And he was kind of the guy that was like, hey, make sure you don't ask this question. Make sure you like kind of like helping direct me a little bit. But that's, I would have to agree with you on that. I either Phil. I like Phil Ivey. I like Phil Galfon. I even like Phil Hellmuth. I think Phil Hellmuth gets a really bad rep. I mean, the guy is the greatest of all time when it comes to tournament, like big field poker. But he doesn't get any credit because of how boisterous of a personality he is. Right. Like he rubs a lot of people the wrong way. I get it. I totally get it. He is an asshole, but so am I. Maybe that's why I resonate with him so much. Like, I love that. Like, don't change a thing, Phil. We love you, you know? And I think he's going to keep winning. I think, you know, and it's refreshing to see someone like Phil Ivey finally win another bracelet this past series. Like, you know, Negreanu is not stopping at all. Like, that's another guy where you're just like, these guys are like back. They're back. They're full time. They're hungry. But they're still winning players. And I think there's a lot of guys over the years that have fallen off the face of the earth.
100%.
And you know, it's like the game. I don't want to say the game passed them by because that's not how I look at it. I kind of had a similar realization where it was like, I just need to understand how to win in today's environment because it's changed. And, you know, technology plays a huge role in that. Studying has changed completely. What do you use to study? What do you do for studying?
I generally, when I want to like study is I'll like, if I like have a block of time and I like want to get better, I get coaching. And like, I just get coaching from people that I just super like highly respect, you know? And like, it's crazy because like people like, you know, like I own my own coaching course, right? Like Anti Nit Academy, like coaching and community, right? And people are like, what? Like my coach is getting coaching. Like he can't be that good. Like, no, you don't understand. Like there's levels, right? Like there's levels to this game. And in order to keep getting better, like you need to find somebody better than you, you know? And what better way? Like it's one thing to like look at GTO Wizard. It's one thing to look at a course and like just look at what's going on the screen, right? And try to figure that out. It's another person it's another thing to have a person that's extrapolated the concepts from everything and they're able to give you 100 hours of you studying on your own in 2 hours, right? And they're literally able to give that all to you in a 2-hour video. That's worth gold. And people do not understand. They're like, why does coaching cost so much in poker? Look, I get a coaching session from like really, really good guy. Like, I'm not going to name any names, but like somebody like, like super well-respected tournament player. And I pay him like, $1,000, $1,250 for like 4-hour sessions or something, 4-hour-long sessions. People are like, damn, you're spending a lot of money on that. Or like, maybe it's like even $400, $500 a session. Yeah. Do you understand that me learning these concepts is going to make me back way more than that in the long run? If you're
you're leapfrogging a ton of like hours of having to learn and study.
Exactly.
Just by learning from someone like that.
Exactly. And I mean, I also can consume content like there's nothing better than like watching the best players play in like the most harsh environments, like Triton. Like I love watching final tables at Triton to learn like ICM. It's crazy. Like it's just like watching these dudes, like how unbelievably studied they are in ICM situations. Like I'll like literally look at like what they're doing and then I'll just run it through the sim and I'm like, dude, like this is like, it's remarkable. Like, oh, this guy's got 37 bigs. I have 24, right? We're playing off like, like the guy to my left has this many bigs. Like, and then like I've got pocket nines. Like this is like a 50% open. Like they somehow know that. Like I don't know how they're so well versed in those things, but I mean that's why they're the best in the world, right? They're leagues above the rest. So
yeah. I love that. And I agree. I think, that's what really changed for me is I finally broke down and found coaching for someone that I didn't know personally. I think that was because I kind of had help from some really close friends of mine that are super crushes in the game, but it was just like, it was hard because they're super crushes in the game. They play full time and they weren't able to give me their full attention. Whereas like someone who is a dedicated coach and also super crushes full time at the same time, but they set aside time to coach people. And when I went that route, my game changed literally overnight. I think like just my approach, how I think about the game, how I look at situations changed really quickly. Then it was like the coach isn't there to make you better. I mean, they are, but the coach is really there to help you help yourself, to understand how to study correctly, how to look at situations in a different way. And I think that's kind of that's worth it for the money to me. It wasn't about them telling me what to do. It was them telling me how to think, how to look at things, how to approach things. And so, again, I'm not like this super crusher, but I'm doing significantly better in my career than I've ever had before because I approach it in a very systematic way, freaking tongue twister, a systematic way of going about things that I really wasn't doing before because I was just kind of like blindly playing without like a real approach. So, and I think a lot of people fall into that trap, like especially the longer you play, you're like, well, I've been winning this way for so long, I don't need to learn anything else. It's like the game changes every like 3 months. So if you're not staying up to date on shit, you're gonna get left behind, and eventually your edge starts to slowly disappear over time. So I know I know you got to run too. I think you said you're heading to a live stream soon.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go play on DGAF. I mean, it's fine if we go a little bit over. Like, I mean, I probably
we'll wrap up here. I just kind of wanted to ask like one or two other things. What's the most surprising thing you've learned about yourself on this poker journey?
Oh, that's a deep question. Surprising thing that I've learned about myself. Let me think about this one. I think, I don't know if I can word this properly, but I think as everybody gets into poker, you need to learn how to somewhat emotionally detach yourself from the game, right? In order to limit the amount of, stress that you get from variance, right? Like anybody that plays this game full time or plays this game heavily understands that it's a very emotionally distressful game, and you need to be able to detach yourself from situations and look at things, from a bird's eye view, and just look at how, like what did you do? Don't look at the results, right? And I think one thing that I learned for myself is that I was really good at that, and so it was like very surprising to me because at first when I started playing, like I was really bad at that. And it was like, I would get super hot and like, angry whenever like things weren't going my way. And like, I mean, I would just get tilted, right? Like I would get tilted very easily. And like, I'm a super competitive guy, and I don't want to be like egotistical here, but like, I'm like for me, one of my natural abilities is I can pick things up fast, right? Like I pick things up quick. Like what, it doesn't really matter what it is, sports, video games, you know, music, like I play piano, like I used to produce music, you know, I do a lot of random things, you know, and like I'll start a new hobby and I'll be pretty good at it really quick, you know? And so like I never really, and like one problem with me is that like because I'm good at things quickly, I'll do it because I'm winning and doing good. And then once I hit like a certain spot where it's like things are starting to get really hard, that's when a lot of the times I'll like just move away from it, you know, because it's like a personal problem that I have, right? Where like I just can't get through that barrier. But with poker, I feel like when shit started to get hard, I like actually just gave it my all and just went through it. And like now I'm just like super, I think good at like handling tilt and distress, because being a competitive person, when you're losing money, you feel like you're losing, you know, you feel like that guy's beating you, you know, and
exactly,
I'm like, dude, I can't let this fucking guy beat me, you know, and it's more so of like me just having like a war with this dude. And I'm like really annoyed with him, even though he hasn't done anything to me. And like, it took me a while to get over that. But now like, I feel like I'm playing against myself, you know, and I feel like that's something that I've really just like grew in my career of playing poker.
That's some pretty incredible insight. I don't think I've ever developed the ability not to hate somebody at the table. Like I'm still that guy. I'm like, dude, that guy just fucking took a huge pot off me. I hate you. Like, please leave. Like, just take my money and leave.
If you a dick about it, that's one thing, right? But like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
No, of course. Where can people find you? This is your time to plug everything. Everything is open game. Where can they find you? Where are the preferred platforms? Like, let's hear it.
I post the most on Instagram, and that's going to be at GlobalDannyPoker. That's where I post almost daily shorts pretty much every single day. Sometimes it's every other day or every couple days, but there's always content coming out on there. On TikTok, it's also GlobalDannyPoker. But that's like the same exact information. I would just recommend you to follow Instagram because the quality's better and you can get like the stories and stuff. And then for YouTube, it's at Global Danny, no poker at the end. And for that, I've already posted one full length vlog for my first one ever of a tournament win that I had a couple months ago. And then on the way, we got some new sick things where me and my brother are doing a bankroll challenge versus each other. And we're going to be vlogging the whole thing. We already have 2 videos recorded. We're working on the 3rd one right now. And once we have 3 videos total backlog, we're going to start pumping them out. And they're going to come out weekly on Global Danny. I think they're going to be
I didn't even get into that. I wanted to talk about how much you guys are at each other's throats at that final table. Like, when you're playing at the same table, there's no collusion, guys. They absolutely want to destroy each other. Okay. When you watch the YouTube video, I've seen the episode at Oceans. I mean, first of all, guys, if you're not following that channel, follow that channel. I'll tag it in the Instagram post here. But yeah, no, I mean, you guys were at each other's throats, and I absolutely love that. Absolutely love that.
It's always like that with him.
Awesome. Well, I want to give a shout out to the podcast sponsor, Fraser Co. I can't even get it on camera here. I'm wearing my favorite watch. And if you guys want a discount, it's code ColdDeck. I'm going to put a link in the description here below, and shout out to Fraser Watches. Thank you for sponsoring the show. We love you guys. We just gave away a free watch, which was awesome. I mean, it was funny because I'm watching the spinner and it just passed your name. I was like, oh shit, he's going to be on the podcast and he almost got a free watch. He's going to have to wear it on the show. Actually, you just missed out. You just missed out. But we'll be doing more stuff in the future. So we've got some cool kind of giveaways and other little contests we'll be running with them in the future. So we're super excited about that. Danny, thank you for being on here. I hope the audience got a ton of value. You shared some freaking bombs, some knowledge bombs on here, and just appreciate you so much. I love what you're doing with the Anti Nit Campaign and Anti Nit Academy, and just wishing you more run good, more success. And we're going to have you on here again. We're going to do a follow-up here in the future.
Awesome.
Hopefully you have a couple of more bags that you secure in the future. So I'll be looking forward to that. And for everybody else, stay tuned for another episode. I'll be releasing these more frequently. So like I said, the travel's done. We'll be recording more, and tune in next time. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you later.
See you guys.